So, good morning. Customer experience, or CX as it is known as, is defined by the interactions, the experiences that we as a customer have with any business, be it in our private lives or at work. And this comes from the entire journey, whether it is from, you're looking for a product or a service or a solution, all the way to actually the end use of it, right? And I want to relate to you an experience which I personally had in order to kind of start off this discussion. And the experience is about buying a car. In 2012, I moved from Singapore back to India, continued to work with Siemens, but I was moving back to India and I was looking to buy a car. I already had an idea of what I wanted. But when I landed there and I started looking for a car, I said, okay, maybe I should also look for a couple of other brands. So of course, first I went and talked to the car showroom of the brand that I wanted with the model that I wanted, but there was a 6-month waiting period. And I said I should look for the next best option that I had, and I found one. This time, the first car was a Japanese car, and the second one was a Continental car. And I said I want to go for the Continental version. And then the sale went through. I mean, the beauty in India is people come to you, right? They bring the car to you for test drive. I mean, I had not experienced that in the 15, 20 years I'd lived in India when I started driving, in Singapore when I started driving. So that was, again, a brilliant experience. But then I figured that it is not a differentiator anymore because every other car company was doing it. Everybody would bring the car to your doorstep, you do your test drive and, complete the sale. Now, with this second car, which I loved, I was going to close the deal, took my checkbook, went to the sales office to close the deal. The sales guy was a great guy. He sold the car to me in that sense. But when I was at the office to close the deal, my experience with the sales manager threw me off completely. He had no idea of who I was. He had no idea what my preferences were. He had no idea why I chose that car over the other car, which I wanted. But at the same time, he was doing a hard sell of why I made the best decision of my life. Now, I got a little irritated, to be very honest. And what I did was, after having a dialogue with him for about 10 minutes, I took my family out, walked out of the door, went to the other brand. I bought a car which was not the model which I wanted, one model lower. I bought the car and I closed the deal the same day. Now, if you relate this to customer experience, it is truly about understanding your customer. It is about understanding what his actual needs are and really getting into the depth of it. So customer experience is all about interactions and experiences. And today, to discuss exactly that aspect of customer experience, about those touch points, about those interactions, about how you make those a memorable experience. So let's get into the panel discussion proper. First of all, we talked about customer experience and I shared an experience with you myself, which I experienced myself. So it's all about building trust and relationship and converting that relationship into loyalty and sometimes even to advocacy, if that is possible. And that would be really the ultimate goal of customer experience. Now, Juliana, maybe I can start with you today. Can you share with us and the audience what customer experience means to you at SLR, what your focus areas are, and how does voice of a customer play out for you in your company and in your experience?
Thank you, Santosh. So I think at SLR, my focus is really on digital transformation. And in the digital world of experiences, our one and only goal, of course, is to delight our customers. So at SLR, we are very focused on B2B as well as also B2C. But B2B customers actually form the core of our business. So at the core of our business, we actually try to digitize all our B2B customer into moving in a digital journey with us. This moving of a digital journey, to many of them might not be straightforward because they have been our customer for the last 10, 20, 30 years. So they have been passed down from different generations. And we're passing down from different generations. You're trying to eventually move whatever was working before on a paper format into a digital format. This change management might be challenging as to what we can also observe in today's current world, right? As much as all the organizations are trying to move to digital, sometimes we have to take care a lot on the humans element. And it's beyond what we see on the screen. It's just their experience of learning. How is it that it's more simplified for them to learn? And certain touch points are therefore very unique to different customers. So what we do on the back end is also to understand how the different touch points are working out for our B2B customer. Where are certain buttons that are placed wrongly, certain process flow are not efficient for them to actually access their financials, are not efficient for them to actually do their, how they're going to order the marketing materials with us. So these are the different touch points that we are trying to make it simpler so that we reduce the manual work that is involved. So today, otherwise they'll be calling customer service and then they'll be saying things like, oh, I've already made this request a couple of days ago. How come it hasn't received? So I think these are the different ways that we are trying to digitalize. But in this process of digitalizing, a lot of change management internally and also externally. So there's a lot of training that we are giving to all our B2B customers. And I'm sitting at the HQ level where we are looking over 30 countries. So at every country, the behavior are quite different. There are customers who are probably in the city and they are more well-versed, they have more connection to internet these days. But once you are beyond the city, internet connection is also a problem. So we have to take care of all these concerns to actually enable, do we go only desktop or do we enable mobile? Because the ability to do mobile first also give the customer another avenue to access their materials when they do not have access to laptop, when they do not have access to wireless as well. So I think these are how we actually entrench ourselves to thinking about how do we delight our customers. So B2B was a large focus area. One of the new portfolio that I've acquired in late last year was also looking at the B2C experience side of things. So on the B2C experience side of things, how do we actually make it simpler for consumers now to understand the different products? At SLO, at any one point, we carry about 4,000 SKUs. So 4,000 SKUs is going to be a nightmare for any consumer to understand, right? Your B2B customer will be able to appreciate because they've been with you for 30 years. But your B2C consumers will find it quite a nightmare to understand which product should I buy. So if they are unable to demystify what product they are going to purchase, imagine if they walk into the shop, how would they actually even start the conversation with our B2B customer? So these are the different areas that we are looking at. There's no golden answer to it, but it's all about simplification. How do we delight our customer? And how do we make sure that the process flow is as efficient to our B2B customers as well? And how do we actually enable our B2C consumers to land on a decision much faster? So the voice of customer play out to us in a sense that we no longer today just take on the internal view. As much as possible, at every touch point, we do go on to interviews with our consumers as well as our B2B customer to understand whatever that we are reimagining, does it really make sense to them, or is it just an internal view that we are doing to fulfill our own process flow internally?
Oh, absolutely.
So sometimes I hope this helps to answer your question, and I think there's no perfect answer.
Absolutely. There is no one and singular answer for any of these experiences that you can create. And what I loved about what SLR is doing is you're looking at it from different touch points, both for a B2B, which is your primary business, but also to your end consumer as well. And that's actually beautiful to see. And also the fact that you are considering, when you talk about customer experience, you're considering topics which are not really related to your product or service, but to the environment in which your customers and consumers are working in, right? And especially when we talk about consumer. But talking about consumer, maybe, Amit, you come from an industry which is also in that space of consumer goods. Do you think you can share a word or two on that topic?
Yeah, basically, I think earlier days when we were studying, and currently also people say customer is the king. So I think customer preferences and his experience is very, very critical for any product or services to sell. As we understand the behavior of the customer, it is better for us to maybe support them through various digitization initiatives. Uh, as Juliana has said, like, yes, definitely, customers are in space of B2C, B2B. I have worked for last 23 years in industry. I have worked with FMCG. I have worked with telecom. So there are a different type of customers. You see, uh, some are service oriented. If you are a service company, if you are a product company, and specifically in FMCG or maybe the goods, basically consumer goods industry, definitely the customer has many choices. And nowadays, customers are having more knowledge about the environment, the products, right? Because thanks to the internet, thanks to many studies coming free on internet, so the awareness level of customer is very, very high. So tap such customers, we should have a concept, right? Definitely, and a digitization platform to basically the store that concept. So once you have a concept, a story in mind, for example, anything which you do, any presentation you make, you first of all create a concept, right? So if we have multiple products and if we don't have a concept or a platform to show to the customer, right, the experience for the customer will be like in piecemeal, right? So we have to give him the consolidated experience through various digitization efforts. So in Jaguar, we have implemented the go to the customer, right? In the era of pandemic, right, we have orientation centers where we generally call our customers for getting the experience of the products, right? And we explain the features and why they should buy the products, right? That is a general sales pitch, right? Now, but in pandemic, since the people are not moving that much, right? So we are going to their home through e-connections, right? So through latest WebEx and Zooms, right? So we are reaching out our customers, right? That is the initiative which we have taken in B2C space. Yes, we have around 4,000 customers, say dealers, distributors, which are our primary customers, right? And we reach them out through our dealer management system. That is another digitization channel which we have opened, right? And they can see their performance. They can get the leads directly from there, right? Our sales guys are basically instrumental in all the field force, is instrumental in getting the leads. We are not selling at our the showrooms or selling points. We are passing all those leads to our dealers. So this complete ecosystem is basically managed by the IT backbone, and we have recently moved to Oracle Cloud, Oracle Fusion for customer experience through mobile and through various other gadgets. So yes, to tap customers, we have to understand their behavior, their patterns, like what they are doing, how they are doing. We have to spend a lot of time in analyzing their choices, right? And once he comes to your showroom, he should go back happily. Maybe if you are not able to convert that lead immediately at that point in sale, you have to wait for the right time. So that is the concept which we build in when we teach our sales guys, right? And when we interact with our dealers. So that's the way we move in the industry, and no doubt, like we are the market leaders right now with in India 65% share, and we are present in 65 countries. So all those sales guys are using all these digitization tools which we have collaborated and given to them. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Amit. I think you touched upon really one very important element, which is to understand user behavior
Yeah.
and to be aware of what exactly your customer wants. And you know, and you talked about pandemic. Actually, pandemic did disrupt every interaction possibility, right? Whether it is with a customer, whether it is with a supplier. And it became actually quite increasingly difficult during the pandemic time to reach out to just about anybody. Now, one of the key learnings that came out during the pandemic and in across many countries is that to deliver your superior customer experience that you designed for yourself and for your customers, you need to have your entire supply chain working together with you. So your suppliers need to be part of that ecosystem, and any disruption in your supplier base or the process is going to have an impact on the customer side, and eventually, of course, to their experience. So Sakit Sarda, in this case, from C2FO, I have a question for you. How do you see companies differentiating their customer experience by creating right supplier relationships? And do you see that it has an impact, number one, of course, and then how do they create these relationships? And also, how do you assure that customer experience works effectively, even when we have outsourced our services, right? I mean, a lot more services are getting outsourced. There are suppliers, partners, multi-partner and multi-supplier environments. Do you see platforms and ecosystems playing a role in supporting these kind of environments? What is the change that is happening in the play of customer experience in the industry? Can you share your views and insights on that?
Thanks, Santosh. I think I'll go back to, because it's pandemic and COVID, I'll start from a journey where, let's say, March of last year. Mm-hmm. And I think what happened was this: with all the credit freeze and the liquidity crunch, suppliers had their own issues in terms of procuring things and making something to send it up to you for you to remarket or to process. The other part was this, that their BCP plans suddenly became your plans, and you had never had a thought about that. So there were two places where you had let's say, a discontinuity of sorts. Their BCP plans were not in place, and therefore that caused a problem. And their financing got stopped, which is the heart of these things. Now, what C2FO does is it's a world's largest working capital platform where it connects, I would call the center node, which could be a client or a buyer or a seller, to its customers and to its suppliers, and solves for a very niche solution, which is just taking care of the financial flows. Because what we feel is this, that once you take care of the financial flows, the rest of the other things do follow or can be rectified as far as the financial flows are very clear. So if the supplier needs cash and the anchor, because he's a bigger balance sheet, has a bigger, better relationships, can somehow get cash reached to the suppliers on time for his production to happen, that will make sure that your customer experience in terms of the car, like you said, in your experience, that you went for a car and it was not available for 6 months. So there could be many other items in COVID that were not available, and still we are suffering from certain places where chips are not being available, and hence there's a downstream effect on a lot of things not being produced in that much quantity. So once you get financing there, obviously the suppliers can do the production for you, and therefore your continuity to provide this thing. Similarly, on the BCP also, if someone has to set up a new office, has to send up laptops and everything, again, your outsourced vendors would require certain capital infusion for them to then manage their BCP plan. So that's what we've experienced and seen, that it actually does have a great impact. And by connecting your customers, yourself, and your suppliers onto a single platform, we are therefore able to give an entire working capital solution to the central customer that we have. So in case of, let's say, SLR, looking at it, customers in terms of when to receive money, and to the suppliers when to send in the money, the entire cash flow can be managed and sent to the right set of suppliers. What we've also seen, Santosh, now is because of all this, what people have also started looking at is how to distinguish their set of suppliers to meet their ESG, CSR, D&I, type of activities, how you get your ecosystem to be involved with you, to be working with you, to actually meet your KPIs on these fronts. And what C2FO is also able to do is this, because we have dedicated people running your supply chain or your customer financial portal, we are able to therefore talk to the suppliers and to the customers to make sure that the entire, I would say, the providence of your ESG, or where it is coming from, where is it going, coming to you. And if you want to pass on any rebate to any supplier or any customer that, hey, because we have a better relationship or a different product, because you bought a different product, I want to give you a rebate, things like that. So all those things can be done on a platform.
It's
So
actually
yes,
quite interesting, isn't it, Saket, when we talk about customer experience and how so many factors come in into actually creating that customer experience that is superior, that can delight the customer, can convert them into an advocate for you at the end of the day, isn't it? And unless we think of that entire value chain, you are never going to have a customer experience which is, at that level is an envy for others. So you need to really take care of so many elements that come along the way. It's not just about your product and the way you can sell the product to a customer. It's the entire value chain. Thank you so much for giving that insight. But maybe I also want to take that opportunity to hear from you, Saket Gore, from Himalaya, on what you see, because as a CEO, you have a different perspective of the customer and the supplier relationship. How do you see this working out, and what was the impact for you during the pandemic?
Great. I'll start from the customer side and then move backwards towards the supply side. In fact, pre-pandemic, supply of goods or timely supply of goods were assured, irrespective of whether you are sourcing the goods locally or it was coming from, let's say, North America towards Asia. There were absolutely no disruptions. However, in 2020, what it taught us that irrespective of the back-end challenges, okay, when I say back-end challenges, whether the factories were working or no, the customer was not willing to accept delays or non-fulfillment. Now, all of us believe that customers should actually accept that there is a pandemic going, and hence be willing to consider that there are likely to be delays, but customer hasn't changed his or her expectations. And I personally believe that the expectation of customers, in fact, have increased. Let me give a couple of examples. Within Asia, it would typically take 7 to 10 days for shipments to actually go from one country to another. Due to the pandemic, in fact, the total timelines have gone up from 7 to 10 days to almost 15 to 21 days. It's almost added 7 to 9 days. That means 50% shipment times have increased, which actually is adding to almost 1 week additional of working capital. That's what we heard earlier from Saket Sada, that working capital needs have gone up. Let me be more specific on the customers. We have worked with doctors because we are into pharmaceutical business. We are also into FMCG, as well as we also work with animal health product, where we work with farmers. And what we notice is the FMCG industry actually understood management of inventory. They were far more digitized. Whereas when we went to doctor clinics or when we actually went to farmers, they absolutely had no idea of how to manage inventory. Or in fact, their digitization process was on a scale of 1 to 10, somewhere between 1 to 2. A doctor obviously was more focused on treating the patient, and a farmer was more focused on getting it produced right. So what we ended up doing is actually working with them, extending our inventory management processes and our digitization processes. We extended to the doctor clinics, some hospitals, and even obviously on the farm side. So it had two benefits. One is the headache of inventory management, ensuring FIFO, first in, first out. Freshness of stock was what we took over the headache from the customer side on our heads. It also ensured that we actually got real-time data, because the moment there was a movement of goods from all the retail outlets, we started getting this information. But I personally, in fact, was surprised with the amount of manual work even today Even today, the amount of manual work which goes into inventory management or managing basic finances. So big opportunity for the overall digitization of the industry. That's what I would say. Customers are not changing. In fact, customers are getting more demanding. Pandemic, no pandemic, customers is always right.
Thank you, Saket and Saket. I think you kind of touched upon very interesting aspect as well. I would say on one hand, of course, working capital needs to be managed. On the other hand, how do you rethink on the processes that you are? How do you ascertain what changes you as a principal can put in place so that you can help your customers and maybe even your suppliers at some point in time to make that difference in the entire value chain? The end result, all our focus is to make sure that our real end customer, the consumer of our product, service, goods, whatever it might be, is the most delighted one, right? And thank you so much for sharing that. Talking about digitalization, I mean, if you really look at it, Gartner predicted that by 2022, which is now almost just about a year ahead, 70% of customer interactions will involve emerging technologies or digital technologies as we know it, such as machine learning or chatbots or mobile messaging, and all this up from 15% just 2 years ago. So from 2018 to 2022, sorry, 4 years. So 22, we are looking at about multiple levels of increase in terms of digitalization in the customer interactions. So when we heard from different people on the panel, from Juliana and Saket, about how digital transformation actually plays a role, and I'm pretty sure Saket, Gore, as you said, not just you, but all the other CEOs as well, are looking at digital as a way of enhancing customer experience. I would like to turn to you, Amit. Can you explain what impact do these digital technologies have in your company, especially? I know you touched upon it briefly earlier, but if you could elaborate a little bit more on that. And generally in the market and industry that you operate in, with focus on, of course, customer experience. There are just so many technologies out there. How do you go through that process of sifting them out, identifying what's right for you, and making sure that in the end, it actually delivers to your customer experience strategy? Could you share some insights from your side, Amit? Amit, you might need to unmute yourself.
Sorry. So thanks, Santosh. I think as I explained that digital experience is most important nowadays, because like now the customers are more younger generation guys are into online shopping, right? If you say FMCG, starting from like small FMCG commodities to maybe buying cars and other things, you go and explore digitally. Now my kid is like he's very young guy, like 14 years old, and he actually browses and says like, this is the car, papa, which we should take, right? So I told him like, did you have you seen the car? Have you seen the features? Have you gone to the showroom or somewhere? No, papa, I have seen this in mobile application, and there are all the features. I can drive that, I can take the experience, I can zoom in, I can go into the details. So this is the experience which is like young generation is actually used to now. So now every company is actually tapping all type of customers, right? So when we say in Jaguar, we have various brands, various segments of products, right? Super premium and luxury, all. So there are set of customers who we have to target. We have to go to the market, and for using B2C channels as well as B2B channels, right? We tap them. So during this journey, like, we not only we have to just tap those customers, but we have to give them lifelong experience. Jaguar gives around 10 years of warranty to all its products, right? So when you have to attach with the customer for 10 years lifetime, right? So you have to be having a very strong customer support. And we have to understand the behavior during the journey of that product as well as that customer. So that is the targets which we take. So starting from a lead generation by a salesman in market to fulfillment of those items, as Saket has mentioned, that we have to, the customer expect that it should, whenever he uh, paid for that services or product, it should reach him within no time. Expectation is within that same day, right? So for that, like, logistics is very important chain, starting from lead generation, lead nurturing, then conversion to the orders, then orders have to be fulfilled. That is very important aspect. So the complete supply chain has to be in tandem. Like, we have recently implemented automatic storage and retrieval using AI, right? So based on the demand forecast and basically the orders which are with us from the dealers, right? This actually the retrieval system of warehouse management pulls out the inventory, stores the items which are fragile at a various levels, where, like, a supply chain can immediately supply to our dealers, right, according to the orders which are placed. So it basically reduces the time to dispatch goods, right? And on daily basis, you see around 10 crores of inventory is moving on daily basis. So this is the minimum inventory which we foresee that we have to manage on daily basis. And when we say inventory, it is for productions, parts, as well as the finished goods. So the same, the robotic warehouse management system using AI is used for part management as well as finished goods management. So that is the supply chain support which gives to our which we power to our dealers. And we have also gone beyond that, right, support, that we have extended our systems, warehouse management systems and dealer management system to our dealers, who are big dealers. They have a problem of storage, as Saket also mentioned, that okay, doctors and farmers don't invest in these type of technologies. They just concentrate on their services. But when we are dealing with 4,000 means, dealers, we have to understand what are they lacking, because that is, they are very critical part in our value chain when you reach to the customer. So reaching to the goods reaching to the customer, and then the services reaching to the customer, that is very important aspect which we take care. So we have recently moved to Oracle Cloud, so in Fusion Cloud, and we have used their CX cloud platform, where, like, the mobile applications are inbuilt, the catalogs can be seen by all the customers, the leads can be generated directly from the mobile application, and the nurturing part of leads has to be done by the other tool, which is Aliqua Maximizer. So with these two basically tools, these are more technical tools, so I will not go into the details of technical details. But then what they do is they actually understand the behavior on from which devices customer is looking at our websites or products, right? If he is an Apple customer, definitely he's a premium customer. Maybe that's an assumption, right? And there are now high-end Android phone also. So based on the models of the phones which are used by the customer, we actually trace him for premium or luxury or maybe masses product, right? So that artificial intelligence is built in, right? So that is just to generate the lead. Now, if we have to upgrade or cross sell to for our products, definitely this pattern is helpful. Similarly, like, after you do a lead, you have to nurture it, right? So the campaigns which are automatically populated, right, based on the behavior of the customer, the devices he is using, or the response he is showing. Maybe he is coming to our website again and again and seeing a particular product, right, or a particular segment, right? So we give him various options through mailing campaigns, right? So that okay, he should be having a lot of choices to select, a lot of dealers around him can support him. And moreover, like, same leads are sent to our sales guys also start tapping them, right, based on that analytics, okay, that based on the behavior. So, and as I told in my earlier discussion, that okay, we have to create the concept. So we sell them the concept. If he is seeing a shower enclosure, we have to sell him the complete component of those shower enclosure, right? The complete bathroom fittings, right? Associated with that shower enclosure. So we don't tap him for shower enclosure. So we create a concept for him. That is the way, like, so we amplify the sale there. So these are the tools which are used. Aliqua is there, Maximizer is there, which we are using from Oracle Stable. And then DMS, even though it is a in-house created product, but now since last 35 years, we are the market leaders, and we are supporting our dealers, right, using that tool. He basically, the dealers can see their performance, what is their capital with what they have invested, how quickly their stocks are moving, what are the sales and revenue what they are generating using Jaguar products, right? So these all analytics, when you say AI engines are there inbuilt and reports are generated, and based on that, they are given the points and ratings, and those can also be redeemed vis-a-vis buying a product free of cost as per the schemes, or maybe a cash incentive. So these are various how we are tapping up with our customer. Now the second part I told about the supply chain backend. Third is the customer support. So now this 360 degree, now our customers can go onto our portal and generate a warranty certificate. So that complete process is automated for them. Now, on a click of a button, they just have to put their bill or the artifacts that they have bought it from some dealer. Immediately, there is a digitized warranty certificate mailed to him immediately. So without any hassles of maybe going to the dealer back and then getting a warranty card, and based on that warranty card, he can generate a ticket, a service ticket, and service engineer will come to his house. With that digital certificate will be enough for free of cost service. So that experience, you can understand that what is the experience level which a customer feels, and that is the level which we look at, and then we want to improve that, improving that bar on a daily basis. So those are the tools which we have invested in, and we are looking into more aggressive ventures with our partners, right? Seeing towards our suppliers, we have integrated our ERP systems and extended them to our suppliers, so that, for example, our OEMs, right, and so that they can use those facilities of what are their orders, how they will be supplying the products to us, right? And based on that, we can back to back commit to our supply chain for the finished goods. So this complete ecosystem is actually maintained by all digital tools. So that's how we are moving in for Jaguar.
Maybe we have another panelist here who is quite well into the digital transformation activities and with focus on customer experience. Juliana, can you shed some light on that topic and share with us what SLR does in terms of digital and the entrenchment of these kind of digital technologies in your customer experience journey?
Yeah, so I think in the journey of creating the customer experience, we look into creating two ecosystems, one on the B2C and one on the B2B. Of course, B2B is our most important customer. And for this ecosystem, what we do is to digitize the way that they order. So they don't have to actually put on their ordering on paper to us and take a photo or WhatsApp it to us. They can actually go to the online portal to do their ordering themselves. And when they do the ordering, of course, it goes straight to our lab for manufacturing, which means you actually remove you actually improve the efficiency that you don't have to call a customer service to actually talk to someone to get your order in. Then, so that we also digitize the customer service as well. So once you go onto the portal, you can actually chat our CS to actually ask any questions via chat. Many of times we have also learned from the behavior of today's B2B customer that with today's technology, sometimes they feel that waiting by a phone call is very inefficient for them, right? To press a button, to actually call someone. Why can't I chat? And then I wait for the CS to respond to me while they actually check on the backend So we also digitize the customer service. And thereafter, doing the ordering, digitizing the customer service, we also look into the notification of the delivery. So when the delivery is going to be out to you, like your e-commerce, you actually get notification on your mobile phone, on your email, if you wish to activate both as well, to get a notification on when is this order coming to you and when are you expecting to receive it. In the B2B space, that's actually quite important because they then actually notify the B2C consumers when to pick up the orders that they made. Then after the consumers actually get the goods, the B2B customer can also check to the portal to understand their financials, to what's the statement of account, what's the invoices, what is the outstanding balance, and also to make payment via online as well. Then the last step is really to, if they hit their sales incentive, will they get actually unlock a goal to actually be incentivized for hitting the sales as well. So that's the B2B ecosystem that we are creating to ensure that we actually digitize every step of our B2B customer. And with digitizing of it, of course, the change management comes in. But the change management comes in and is easier to do when the ease of use is high, the perceived value with the B2B customer is also good and high, and also the hook that we create, right? The hook that we create is actually to simplify the entire process for them to reach out to us easily, as to waiting for a salesperson to visit them once in a while. So I think that's how we actually created the entire hook and the perceived value to our B2B customers.
Thank you, Juliana. Thank you, Amit. I think what both of you shared is that it's not just about the technology in itself, but about how you deploy these technologies by understanding your customer value chain and then using it to the optimal possible so that the experience is actually enhanced, and how data insights and end-to-end digitization actually makes a big difference in terms of enhancing this customer experience. Thank you for sharing that. So far we have really talked about various aspects of digital, about handling working capital, talking about customers' voice, supplier and their role in this whole process, the business continuity aspects, etc. When we talk about all of this, if it is done right, customer experience is a big differentiator and a competitive advantage. But to get that right, there are quite a few focus areas, and we kind of alluded to a fair bit of them in our conversation. Nevertheless, maybe Sakit Gore, in this case for Himalaya, what are some of your focus areas and where are you in your customer experience journey? And more importantly, I would like to hear from you how you make sure that employees in the company and what role do they play in customer experience or enhancing customer experience? Could you shed some light on that?
Sure. So I just want to start that this whole push toward digitization, it's more from the consumer side, which is happening, is actually shifting consumer behavior, especially the way consumer shops and consumer buys. I'm saying consumer shops separately and consumer buys separately. And let me elaborate. Earlier, when you used to buy goods, you would buy, let's say, for a month. Typically, you would buy your groceries as well as you would plan 30 days in advance. Or 2 to 3 years back, when e-commerce was just making inroads, your shipment would arrive to you after 7 to 10 days, and it was acceptable. But what is happening is, let's say in Singapore, we have services now where you can order a Coke of can or a packet of chips, and it gets delivered to you in 20 minutes. So just imagine that you're sitting in front of your television and you feel like having a Coke of can, and it gets delivered in 20 minutes. That actually is shifting customer expectation. It's shifting customer expectation where the consumer is expecting the same service even when they buy a toothpaste or when they buy shampoo or even clothing. So that actually is shifting their expectation that, yes, you are feeling thirsty, so you're buying a Coke of can, but you could very well wait for 3 to 4 days to get your shampoo or a toothpaste or your t-shirt delivered. But customer expectation is same for a Coke of can versus buying other groceries. This we're noticing a lot through especially Gen Z or the very young consumers. I think Amit was mentioning that this particular consumer is very or doesn't have patience. And I'm not saying in a negative way, that is how the customer expectation is. They don't have patience. So obviously they expect it, then expect it. And we sometimes lightly say that, okay, they go to the shower and they realize their shampoo is finished, immediately ask for a shampoo and it should be delivered to them before their bath finishes. That is what customer expectation is. And if that is a customer expectation, obviously organizations need to get ready. And this is where we actually talk to our employees that this is what the consumer is changing in their behavior. Now, a typical organization hierarchy used to be pyramid structure, where you have a lot of junior employees at the base, and the senior management is the one who take decision. But this particular consumer expectation change is actually making us shift our decision-making process. What we have done is, on a day-to-day basis, all the tactical decisions are actually left with the front-end employees. For example, if there is a comment from a consumer or a question from a consumer on Instagram, it can't wait for somebody at the head office to answer. So the brand manager or the sales person has to answer the question then and there. So we don't let them come back and check with what the answer should be. What we have enabled as well as empowered them is to take a decision. And I repeat, quote unquote, take a decision. And then actually the manager checks and says, okay, this is a question which a consumer had and this is how you responded. This is how things went right. This is what things could have been done differently. So empowering the consumers to take a decision, empowering the employees to take a decision and addressing the consumer need real time actually is become the most important aspect in this journey. And I would say this is something which I haven't learned in my 25 years of career, but this is what is going to happen more and more. And I'll quote an example. I quote an example with a co-CEO. He apparently checked into a good hotel, a fancy hotel, not now, but pre-pandemic. And he realized that one of the button of his jacket had come loose. And he happened to just go to the, when you were checking in, he just mentioned this to people who were checking in that, I happened to lose the button of my jacket. And he was in one city. And he said, can it be managed? I would say 99 out of 100 times they would say, sorry, sir, we don't have this service here, right? Because you can't find the same button. But what he shared is that he checked in roughly around 7 p.m. in the evening. That front office manager actually called up the brand. And it was, let's say in Mumbai, I'm taking an example. He checked in Mumbai. They realized that that particular jacket and that particular button was not available in the showroom in Mumbai. They got in touch with the Delhi outlet. That particular button was flown in midnight from Delhi. It landed in Mumbai. The hotel actually ensured that his button was made available by 6 o'clock. They stitched it on his jacket, and by 8:30 p.m., the jacket was ready. Now, it's got nothing to do with the stay. It's got nothing to do with the comfort. It's got nothing to do with the luxury brand. This is customer service. Now, this is what I'm sure this particular co-CEO of mine is going to start expecting as a customer service every time he checks into a luxury hotel. Now, this is where customers' expectations are increasing. This is where experiences. So the traditional way of decision taking, because a general manager of the hotel would have obviously said, sorry, we don't have this particular brand of jackets we sell. We don't sell yet because we're not in the business of selling a jacket. But that is customer experience. So walk into your bathroom, you see a shampoo not available, just call for it, and within 15 minutes, it will get delivered to your bathroom literally. So that is what is customer experience for future. And let's get ready for it. And without empowering our employees, that won't happen. So take a decision. That is what I tell my team. Take a decision. Doesn't matter if the customer is slightly demanding. Let's make customer happy. That's, I would say, has to be the mantra as we go ahead.
Absolutely, Saket. I think you brought in such a very valuable aspect of empowering the front end, right? I mean, empowering employees really makes or breaks customer experience. And that example that you shared about specifically your co-CEO and his hotel experience. I think he's sold for life now, right? He's going to check in into that hotel or that brand of hotel wherever he goes, whether it is for his work now or for his pleasure trips, right? He's going to be a big fan of that hotel chain. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, maybe I'll turn my attention actually to you, Saket Sharda. How do you see this from your business, from your perspectives? Because yours is a very different kind of business that you are in. But how do you see employees playing a role in that customer journey? Do you see an impact of the different generations of customers that you see, etc.? Could you share some insights from your perspective?
Thanks. So I like what Saket Gore said about basically this is the new way of empowering the whole value chain, whether it's your customers in one sense and even your employees. I think I'll just bring in the part of how about organizations who start thinking and empowering their suppliers. Now, when you look at any traditional supply chain, you always land up deciding for the supplier, right? I will decide which bank will provide supply chain finance. I will decide what commercials. I will decide which invoices you can take at what terms. What C2FO has done is that with the technology, we have moved the empowerment to the supplier. He dynamically decides which invoice he wants financing. He decides he doesn't want to be locked up with any bank that has been introduced by the supplier, but his own bank, or by the buyer by his own bank. And he also decides his own commercials that he wants the discounting at for an early payment. And the platform is therefore able to look at all the other sources of that demand and manage the financing for that supplier. So that's how it works, this thing. And basically your empowerment team, whether it's a customer, the customer is also a supplier. A customer is also a consumer, right? And therefore all of them are now moving in that direction where they are looking at, hey, I want to make my own choices. I want to decide on my own. I'm the best, I'm aware, and I can make my own decisions. And therefore, empowerment has to be taken across to our suppliers also. And that's what the platform does, is enable the suppliers to feel empowered to be part of your supply chain and look at their liquidity in the way they want to manage it, at absolutely free of cost from at least from a subscription perspective or any availability optionality perspective. But obviously, if he wants something to be paid early, there's a cost of financing for that.
Thank you, Saket. I think when I look at the entire conversation that we had, and when we started off with just a word called customer experience, and how we transfers through the entire value chain of the customer experience, right from the buy to the support and experiencing the support and the product and the service that we have, and how digital plays a very anchoring role, especially in the light of the changes and the acceleration of the expectations that have happened over the last year and a half through the pandemic, etc., on how digital has played a real key role in enabling and driving customer experience through, whether it is through digitizing, whether it is through automating processes, whether it is through providing data insights, whether it is through enabling ecosystems, as platforms, enabling ecosystems. But in all of that, digital play, at the end of it, change management, people, whether they are customers, consumers, suppliers, employees, managers, leaders, whoever they are, all of us need to go through a change process, a change approach, a different mindset in dealing with the upcoming expectations and the changes that we are experiencing in this space of customer experience, and what customers see as their value in being your customer, and this has been very, very insightful discussion, and to hear from the various industries and that you are in. Thank you very much, Amit, Saket Gore, Saket Sharda, and Juliana Chua for joining me in sharing your experiences and your story about what customer experience means and what we should focus on to make a difference for the future. Thank you very much. Have a good day and see you around.